Yesterday I was meeting with someone who's a couple years out from retirement, and they're trying to figure out really what they need to do at these final few years before they quit working, get some final ducks in a row, and then start to kind of map out what their retirement income is going to look like. So as we were talking, one of their question was, and they had recently actually moved their investments to stable value, essentially to cash inside their 401k, just worried about the market turbulence over the last couple of years. And so one of the questions they had for me is, should they leave this money in stable value or should they reinvest it? And their concern was, I'm going to retire in a couple of years and I just don't want to take a lot of risks with this money before I retire. And what I wanted to point out to him was, we're not looking at the next 2 years or 18 months before you retire. We're really looking at the next 25 or 30 years for you and your wife's lifetime, the remaining years that you have and what your goals and objectives are. So there's some things that I wanted to point out. I thought that I would share my screen and do a little bit of kind of talking around visually what I was trying to explain to them. So if you look at my screen, you'll see my tablet, and I've got this chart on there from A Wealth of Common Sense. These are some great financial blog writers. They put a lot of data together, and they pulled this chart that shows the yearly returns of the market. I guess in this case, it's the S&P 500, which is an index. You can't directly invest in that index, but this is the index, a broad market, and this shows the annual returns going back to 1980. So you'll see all of these orange lines, like you see here, are the yearly returns. The blue line that you see going across this middle is the returns, or the weighted 30-year rolling average. And so when you look at the returns year by year, you see a lot of volatility. You can see some years are really, really high in returns, some years are low, some are in the middle, some are barely positive. There's a lot of variance in, some of these returns, and that really drives some of the behaviors around his questions. I just don't know what's going to happen over the next 18 months or 2 years, so I don't know what the right thing to do is. Should I stay in cash or should I be invested? And so while he, in this example, is looking at short term, what's going to happen with these orange lines? What's going to happen, as we can see here in 2023? The year's not over yet, obviously, but so far the year is positive. We've had a pretty good year, 2023. But we don't know what's going to happen next year or 2025, just like we weren't sure what was going to happen last year or the year before. And so there's just a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of noise around the market, the economy, what's going on. So it causes some uncertainty, some questions around what is the right thing to do. So what I wanted to point out to him is that if we keep our eye on the ball, I'm not so much concerned about the next 2 years. What I'm concerned about is you and your wife for the next 30 years. And that's where this blue line across the middle comes to play. That is the rolling 30-year average of the S&P 500. And you can see it's averaged somewhere between 9 to 10% over the last 30 years when you look at, or rolling 30 years since 1980. So what that would mean is from 1980 to 2010, from 1981 to 2011, from 1982 to 2012. And so it's a rolling average here. That rolling average is somewhere between 9 and 10%. If we want to be conservative, it's 8% or so. So we don't want to get caught up on the immediate 1, 2, 3 years and the noise that's going on with rates, war in Ukraine, recession talk, any of the doom and gloom variables that really cause us to make emotional decisions can impact the long-term, progress we're making towards our retirement dreams. In this case, we have some additional things we want to do. We want to travel. There's a car that needs to be purchased. There's some legacy money we want to leave to their children. But most of all, we want to make sure that they have a comfortable retirement for the next 30 or 35 years or so. And so if we get too conservative and stay too conservative, we end up running out of time and potentially running out of money, and that can be detrimental to the long-term success of your investments in your portfolio. We're living longer, technology is getting better, healthcare is getting better. Odds are this couple, one of them will live well into their 90s, and it's possible that one of them could live even into their hundreds. I've had several clients live into their hundreds. And so, again, I just want to kind of come back and show we're not trying to time the market. We're not trying to make short-term, nearsighted decisions. We're trying to keep our eye on the long term, the end goal. What is the average, and how is that going to impact us? And when we do that, we actually are looking at that rolling 30-year period, and we can have some confidence. And the past is not always the best barometer for future, but we can have some confidence that no matter what the noise is today, no matter what the newest headline is, the fear-mongering is, that we're a consumption-based economy and we spend. And the more we spend, the more we export, the more that we create new technologies, the more that these companies continue to rise. Companies rise by their share prices and their earnings. So the more money they earn, the more their share price increase. It's important to think long-term, not just near-term. Be confident in your retirement. Have a wonderful day.